In the twilight of Chicago, when the evening sky shimmered with cool shades of blue and gray, an old mansion on a quiet street resembled a forgotten corner of the past. Once filled with laughter, joy, and family warmth, it now echoed with the silence of loss and loneliness. The house, built in the finest traditions of American architecture, with high ceilings, massive wooden beams, and antique paintings on the walls, seemed like a mute witness to happier days when the father was the center of everything. At the large dining table, illuminated by the soft light of an antique chandelier, sat the mother, Evelyn. Her delicate voice, filled with both tender sadness and quiet hope, cut through the silence like a spring brook awakening the sleeping earth. Before her, on either side of the table, sat her daughters, the elder, Quinn, and the younger, Maya. In their gazes, one could read a hidden weariness and a certain detachment, as if years of loneliness and the cold walls of the house had gradually distanced them from each other. "Girls," Evelyn began softly, gently touching Quinn's shoulder, "this house needs changes. It has lost that spark, that family energy that once warmed our hearts." Her words, spoken with a slight tremor, seemed like an echo of the past when the family was united and the house was a true refuge. Quinn, usually reserved and silent, felt a memory of long-forgotten moments stirring within her. Maya, with a slightly defiant gaze that was no longer present in her childhood appearance, quietly raised an eyebrow, not fully understanding why her mother was returning to this topic. "We need to bring warmth back to this home," Evelyn continued, her voice gaining resolve despite the deep sadness. "After your father's passing, everything here became colder, emptier. I want every room to breathe life again, to hear laughter, to feel like a real family once more." At that moment, a silence filled with inexpressible feelings hung in the room. The walls, covered with faded wallpaper, seemed to absorb every word, and the antique clock on the wall, steadily ticking away the time, symbolized that time was the only thing that relentlessly took away both joy and warmth. Quinn quietly lowered her gaze, her thoughts drifting back to her childhood, running through the halls of this house with her sister, laughing and playing, listening to her father's amusing stories during family dinners. Maya, on the other hand, took a moment to find the strength to respond, her inner world filled with questions and unspoken words that had kept her in a state of indifference for so long. But Evelyn, sensing her daughter's hesitation, reached out again, gently touching Maya's hand. In that touch was not only a request but also a hope for the restoration of lost family warmth. This simple, sincere gesture made both daughters feel that elusive connection they seemed to have lost long ago. "I need your help," Evelyn said, her voice soft but confident. "Not just to move furniture or hang a new painting, but to bring back our home, our family, the love and warmth we once knew." These words, filled with emotional power, became the starting point for a new beginning. That very night, as echoes of footsteps and the rustle of a gentle breeze filled the mansion's corridors, a spark of change began to ignite in the hearts of Quinn and Maya. They understood that in their mother's words lay not just a request for physical renewal but a call to reunite, to return to the lost unity and family closeness. Thus, under the sounds of the quiet evening and in the flickering light of the antique chandelier, the journey to restore not only the house but also their souls began. Every room, every shadow on the wall now held a promise of change, a promise to bring back the lost happiness and make the house a place where love and family warmth thrived again. The next day, as the first rays of morning sun gently filtered through the antique curtains, Quinn and Maya returned to the house that still held echoes of past warmth but now felt cold and outdated. The corridors, filled with the shadows of bygone days, greeted them with the silent echo of their own footsteps. Every room, every antique chair, and faded painting reminded them of the closeness they had long lost in the moments when the family was one. In the living room, where their mother Evelyn had first shared her heartfelt request, the sisters began working on updating the interior. An awkward silence hung between them, filled with unspoken grievances and things left unsaid. Quinn, reserved and somewhat introverted, carefully sorted through old books on a dusty shelf, while Maya, with a hint of bitterness in her voice, pointedly indicated the need to move a massive vase standing by the window. "Why are you always so slow, Quinn?" Maya muttered, not looking up, as if her words were a sting, penetrating and painful. "I'm just trying, Maya," came the quiet reply, almost inaudible, but filled with hidden resentment and fatigue from constant control. With every accidental meeting of their gazes, sparks of long-extinguished feelings flared up, the same feelings that once bound them inseparably but were now overshadowed by a heavy layer of silent animosity. At one point, as they helped each other move an old sofa, Quinn and Maya's hands touched. For a moment, Time seemed to slow down. The light touch was not just a coincidence, but a quiet reminder of the past when they laughed, embraced, and shared everything without reservation. This touch was so fleeting that both, for a second, forgot their irritation, as if their hearts remembered what it meant to be together. Despite the tension, there was something more in the air than just grievances and disagreements. Every movement, every quiet sigh spoke of a tender bond between the sisters that time could not completely destroy. Under the melodic ticking of the antique clock on the wall, filled with memories of the past, they began to realize that restoring the house was not just about renovating the interior, but an attempt to bring back the lost warmth and family closeness they once knew. Thus, in the silence of the renovated living room, amidst old things and inexpressible tension, the first, tentative step towards reunification was born. Every touch and every word, even if spoken reluctantly, had meaning and could become the beginning of a new story for the entire family. As the day gradually gave way to the evening calm, Quinn and Maya, having slightly eased the tension, continued working on updating the house. In one of the long-abandoned rooms, lost amidst dust and forgotten items, the sisters discovered an old photo album covered with a thin layer of time. Its worn leather cover, tattered and faded from numerous years, immediately caught their attention, as if inviting them to remember what was once so dear. Quinn carefully opened the album, and before her eyes unfolded vivid scenes from childhood, laughter, bright colors of carefree days, trips to the beach, festive dinners, and long evenings spent in the family's embrace. Each photograph seemed to bring forgotten moments to life, smiles, the sparkle in their eyes, and the sincerity that was now so lacking. In her soul echoed the memories of the past, awakening a deep longing for lost closeness and simultaneously filling her with the warmth of long-forgotten feelings. Maya, standing nearby, joined in looking through the album. At first, she watched in silence as Quinn gently ran her fingers over the photographs, as if trying to touch those times when their sisterly bond was unbreakable. Gradually, when her gaze fell on a snapshot of them laughing on a ride, Maya couldn't help but smile. Her face softened, and in her eyes flashed a memory of how carefree their childhood had been. "Remember how we used to run around the yard all day?" Maya asked softly, her voice filled with tender nostalgia and a hint of sadness. "Yes, I remember," Quinn replied, her voice trembling with emotion. "We were so happy, even though the little quarrels seemed insignificant now." At that moment, the silence that had been filled with tension began to dissolve into warm memories. Each page of the photo album, each old note found within, seemed to gently penetrate the sisters' hearts, returning to them the forgotten feeling of unity. Quinn saw in one of the photographs how their father, with a wide smile and shining eyes, embraced them both. This scene became a symbol for her that family was not just walls and furniture, but something more, invisible yet tangible in every touch, every glance. As they flipped through the pages together, an invisible shift occurred between the sisters. Each photograph, each old postcard was like a bridge between the past and the present, uniting their souls. Unexpectedly, Maya reached out to Quinn, and their fingers met in a warm, almost imperceptible touch. In that moment, time seemed to stand still, and their gazes flashed understanding and sincerity, long lost but now reawakening. The inner voice of each told them that these moments were not just memories but a chance to regain what was lost. With each new photograph, with each memory, they became more aware that, despite years of estrangement, their bond remained unchanged. This realization was both painful and comforting, like a gentle rain washing away the dust from forgotten paths. Immersed in the flow of memories, Quinn and Maya merged into the silence, allowing the past to fill the voids that had accumulated in their hearts. In their eyes reflected tears mixed with smiles, and in the warm light of the old lamp, the room was filled not only with dust but also with the long-awaited spark of hope. Every small detail, the worn edges of the cover, the faded colors of the photographs, the quiet rustle of turning pages, became evidence that time, despite all losses, could return to people what they thought was lost forever. And so, that evening, amidst the forgotten relics of childhood, the sisters began to feel their hearts beating in unison again, like the gentle strings of a long silent melody finding resonance in the depths of their souls. This was the beginning of something new, the beginning of a path to reunification, where the past served as the foundation for a future filled with love, warmth, and understanding. As the house began to take on a renewed appearance, the warm light of a new day filtered through the high windows, illuminating the refreshed walls and furniture, as if trying to heal old wounds. However, between Quinn and Maya, there still simmered unspoken pain and old resentments accumulated over years of estrangement. In one of the spacious rooms, where new curtains had recently been hung and decor items carefully arranged, the tension suddenly flared up like a spark in dry grass. "Why do you always insist on your ideas?" Maya snapped, her voice trembling with resentment as she tried to move a new chest of drawers that, in her opinion, disrupted the overall harmony of the space. Quinn, reserved but unable to contain her emotions any longer, replied coldly, "I'm not just suggesting moving furniture, Maya, but creating an atmosphere where every detail breeds memories. Maybe you're just afraid of change." The words echoed through the room. Maya's gaze narrowed, and in her eyes flashed pain mixed with bitterness. Each word seemed like a blow, awakening old wounds that both had tried to forget. At that moment, the tension was almost palpable, like a thick fog enveloping their souls. Sitting on the old rug, Quinn tried to gather her thoughts. Within her, conflicting feelings battled, the desire to regain the warmth that once bound them and the reproaches for years of silent alienation. She remembered how they once laughed together over trifles, how their hands intertwined in friendly embraces, and now even an accidental touch seemed to evoke a storm of emotions. "Maya," Quinn began softly, her voice filled with weariness and pain, "I don't want to start this argument again. We both remember what it was like before. Why do we so easily forget that our strength lies in unity?" But Maya, unable to suppress a burst of anger, pushed Quinn away, and their gazes met in the reflection of an old wooden mirror frame. In that moment, a spark of understanding flashed in their hearts, mixed with pain for the lost closeness. But the conflict remained unresolved. "You always think everything should be your way," Maya said, her words piercing the silence. "Maybe I don't know how to bring it all back, but I'm tired of the constant reminders of what we've lost." In every phrase, in every movement of their hands, one could hear the inner struggle. The sisters exchanged glances filled with tears, but also with an elusive hope for reconciliation. Suddenly, when the tension reached its peak, Maya, as if realizing the futility of words, gently reached out to Quinn. This harsh yet quiet attempt at rapprochement became a small but important step towards forgetting old grievances and giving a chance to a new, more sincere connection. At that moment, each of them understood. The struggle with inner shadows is not resolved by harsh words, but only through a gentle touch, through a sincere desire to regain lost warmth. The house, which had recently seemed lifeless, now became an arena for struggle and, at the same time, the birthplace of new hope. Their hands, touching each other, spoke of the past not as a sentence, but as a lesson that must be accepted to move forward. Under the sounds of the antique clock steadily ticking away the minutes of the new day, the conflict between the sisters dissolved into quiet understanding and trembling. They both knew that the path to reunification would be long and difficult, but it was this moment, a gentle touch, a sincere gaze, baring their souls, that became the starting point in the struggle with the inner shadows of the past. And in this quiet yet powerful act of reconciliation lay the promise of a future where the house would once again become a place filled with love and understanding. One quiet evening, when the renovated house was already beginning to breathe new life, Quinn and Maya, as if accidentally finding themselves at the very center of time, discovered a forgotten box of family relics. Its worn wooden surface held the secrets of long-gone days, old postcards, yellowed letters, and several long-forgotten photographs capturing happy moments from their childhood. At first, each find evoked in the sisters a quiet sadness and a slight trembling sense of loss, but soon the memories, as if awakened by the wind of change, began to bring them closer. Quinn carefully opened a yellowed letter from their father, and his warm, sincere words, written in neat handwriting, seemed to fill the void in her heart. "To my dear girls," she read aloud, her voice filled with tenderness, "remember that you will always be together, even if life takes you far apart." The words, sounding like a promise, awakened in her a long-forgotten belief in family unity. The moment came when Maya, who had long suppressed her emotions, suddenly laughed. This laughter was both light and sincere, as if it dispelled the cold of old grievances. Laughing, she showed Quinn an old photograph of them having fun on a ride, with cotton candy in their hands and radiant smiles. "Remember how we laughed until we cried?" Maya said, her voice trembling with joy and sadness at the same time. At that moment, something changed. Between the sisters, as if a thin thread was woven, connecting their souls in moments of happiness. They sat on the soft rug in the living room, turning the pages of the old photo album, and with each new snapshot, the past came to life. They remembered family holidays, long summer evenings, and those simple joys that made their world bright. Laughter gradually gave way to quiet tears, and tears to gentle embraces. Quinn quietly took Maya's hand, and in that touch was so much forgiveness and understanding that words could not express over many years of estrangement. "We were a team," Quinn whispered, her voice filled with a quiet determination to regain the lost warmth. Maya nodded, and their gazes met, filled not only with the pain of the past but also with hope for a bright future. Under the sounds of an old record slowly playing on the turntable, the sisters forgot all their disagreements. They began to dance spontaneously, as if returning to those carefree days when nothing could separate them. This dance became a symbol of their inner liberation. With every small smile and every gentle touch, they once again felt that family was not just a word but a living, pulsating feeling that could be restored. The evening passed in the soft light of lamps and quiet conversations, where each story told with sincerity became a brick in the new foundation of their relationship. Laughter and tears, united in one stream of memories, awakened in them the understanding that time heals even the deepest wounds if given a chance. Thus, immersed in warm embraces and quiet confessions, Quinn and Maya felt that despite the years of estrangement, their hearts still beat in unison. These moments, filled with tenderness, laughter, and tears, became the starting point for a new stage in their family life, a stage where the past and present intertwine into an indissoluble whole, giving hope for a bright future. With the first rays of a new morning, when the gentle light of dawn enveloped the renovated house, all the old grievances and pains seemed dissolved in the soft light that penetrated through the spacious windows. The house, once filled with coldness and emptiness, now became a reflection of new life, warm, sincere, and united. That morning, Evelyn returned home after a long day at work, feeling a mixture of slight anxiety and hope in her heart. She slowly opened the front door and, taking a deep breath, entered the living room. Her gaze immediately fell on the transformed space, soft wall tones, lovingly arranged family photographs, and cozy furniture that seemed to invite warmth and conversation. The house glowed with new life, as if every renewed space breathed love and understanding. In a corner of the living room, Quinn and Maya, with wide-open eyes and slight smiles, discussed the final touches of the renovation. Their gazes met their mother's, and at that moment, time seemed to stand still. Evelyn, unable to contain her emotions, stepped forward, and all three found themselves in an embrace filled with quiet joy, tears of relief, and long-awaited forgiveness. "I have long dreamed of bringing this family back together," Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling with happiness and slight sadness. "We did too, Mom," Quinn replied softly, her words sounding like a promise of a new chapter. And Maya, embracing them both, added, "Now we are together again, and that's what matters." Family unity, like a gentle morning breeze, spread through the house an atmosphere of love and renewal. Outside the window, the city was waking up, reflecting the soft hues of the dawn sky, and inside the house, every corner reminded them that the lost connection, despite all trials, could be restored. In the kitchen, where coldness and alienation once reigned, laughter now filled the air, warm and sincere. The sisters prepared breakfast together, recalling family traditions and funny moments from the past when their father knew how to liven up even the dullest day. Every movement, every smile became symbols of the rebirth of old ties that now seemed unbreakable. In the evening, gathered around the large table, the whole family shared a warm dinner filled with stories, laughter, and quiet confessions. Evelyn raised her glass, and her words sounded tender, like a prayer for the future. "May this house, filled with our love, always remind us that true strength lies in unity. May we always support each other, as our father once supported us." With these words, the eyes of all present shone with sincere hope, and the house, now a living witness to change, continued to fill with the sounds of new life. The new day became a symbol of a new era for their family, an era where the past and present merged into one, where love and forgiveness became the foundation of the future. Thus, under the soft rays of the setting sun, the family regained its unity. Every smile, every touch reminded them that even after the longest winters, spring comes, and every new dawn brings the promise of a bright future filled with warmth, understanding, and true closeness.